You're listening to Your Magical Midlife. This podcast is for women who are seekers, dreamers, and out-of-the-box thinkers. If you're a Gen X woman who never quite fit in, and probably never will, listen up. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and coach, and I'm here to guide you through the expansive, exhilarating, and sometimes exhausting crossroads that we find ourselves in at midlife. Whether you're a seasoned listener or just joining the adventure, think of this podcast as your hot pink convertible cruising down the highway of change. Together we'll navigate the sometimes baffling backroads of midlife and collect all the cool souvenirs along the way. Get in and buckle up. Our map may have flown out the window miles ago, but that doesn't mean we aren't going to have a blast. Let's hit the road and discover the magic just around the bend. Wiley Women is a wellness brand that wants you to live your best midlife. Developed by a naturopath, they offer tinctures, supplements, and drink mixes. Wiley uses plant medicine and clinical studies to demystify and embrace the hormonal powers and hidden complexities of grown women from the inside. Female formulated and female founded. Plus, they offer free shipping and easy returns. I love the Unworried tincture, which has bacopa, holy basil, passion flower, and reishi. It helps calm my body and stops the spinouts. It reduces jitters and lightens my mood. Go to www.wileywomen.com and use code KATEH2O at checkout to get 20% off. That's www.wileywomen.com and use code KATEH2O for 20% off. I just got back from one of the most expansive and amazing weeks of my life. I went up north to Tarrytown to see Abraham Hicks, and I had seen Abraham, aka Esther Hicks, last December in Orlando, and I had told my friends Lydia and Whitney all about it, and they decided that they wanted to go too. And we saw that she was speaking up in Tarrytown, and so I jumped on the chance, and I had a credit on Allegiant to make it all happen. So I booked my ticket, and then I saw that there was an amazing retreat for women 50 plus in Bristol, Rhode Island. And since I was already going to be in that neck of the woods, I put that on the tail end of my trip up north to see Abraham, and I went out to the most amazing event of my life. This event blew my mind. It was for female leaders and entrepreneurs over 50, and I connected with some of the most amazing, influential, badass women I have ever met in my entire life. What really stood out for me at this event is that there was no competition, there was no jockeying for position, there was no showboating, no peacocking. People came together and supported each other. People were really excited and lit up and looking to connect. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of those events that you felt like an asshole if you took your business card out and tried to pass it off to somebody. Not because they made you feel like an asshole, but because it just didn't feel right. It didn't seem like that kind of vibe. It was more of a face-to-face, soul-to-soul, heart-to-heart connection. It was absolutely magical. And I had so many downloads, so much inspiration. I walked away with a vision of my life that was far beyond anything I had ever had. I now have ideas and very, very clear path to get there. I now have an expansive vision for my business and what I want to be doing that is next level. It's not even next level. Let me correct myself. It is beyond next level. I am so excited about what I'm going to be bringing to the table in the next year. I'm going to be building out some really, really exciting offers, and I feel excited, lit up, and with the energy under it to carry it through because I made connections with people who can uplift and support my dreams just like I can uplift and support their dreams. Honestly, I was really, really intimidated to go to this event. I signed up before I read the bio of the woman who was running it and read the bios of the women who were presenting. If I had read all their bios before I signed up, I would not have bought a ticket, and I would not, well, I got a scholarship. I would never have applied for the scholarship because, let's face it, I have kind of a working class chip on my shoulder. I am a lowly social worker. That's the way I think of myself in my head. And these women were CEOs, COOs, directors of marketing, directors of whatever at some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies you can think of off the top of their heads. The woman who ran this whole thing had been the head of AOL. I did not know that when I applied for the scholarship. I only knew that after she had granted it to me and we had a one-to-one on camera prior to the event just to get to know each other. She is the warmest, friendliest, most inviting, most welcoming person I have met in a long, long time. The women there had been provosts of universities, directors of marketing for Ford. I mean, these are like high-level women. And I am somebody who never even managed to be promoted to a team lead at my dumb job at the managed care company. So I would have been shaking in my boots had I had all that information up front. I'm really, really glad I didn't research things too closely before I jumped on this bandwagon, because this retreat blew my mind. The collaboration, the warmth, the welcoming, the friendships, the ideas, the downloads were absolutely amazing. And then I came home and I found out that a dear friend of mine from my former corporate job had passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. I knew my friend had a heart condition, and I knew she was worried. But I thought that she was going to be okay, and I thought it was going to be under control. I got a text message on Friday morning that my friend had died in her driveway on her way out to run errands. And I kind of think maybe she knew she didn't feel well. She was a nurse. Maybe she knew she was having a cardiac moment, and she went out to her car so she wouldn't die in front of her 3 children. That thought definitely crossed my mind. My friend was amazing. She and I bonded over our mutual love of Little House on the Prairie, our mutual love of Judy Blume books, our mutual love of Sex and the City. She was a huge support for me when my mother was dying. She was a huge support for me when I had my hysterectomy. She was my real friend. She wasn't just my work friend. She was my real friend. We talked several times a day when we worked together for those 10 years. And I really can't believe she's gone. She was a really, really good friend. And she wanted so much more for herself than to sit at that desk and type. She didn't get laid off. She got moved to a different team. And I knew that she hated that job that they pushed her into. And I knew that she wanted to write. And I knew that she wanted to travel. And I knew how much she wanted for her children. And I knew how much she dreamed for them and how much she loved them. and how much more life she had in her. We never really know when our time is. We have no idea. Even if you get sick, you still don't know. You could live 5 years, you could live 10 years, you could live 10 minutes. We never know when our time is up. So today I want to invite you to choose your own adventure, to chase your wildest dreams, to take that off-road of inspiration, to put out that poem that you've been working on, to start your podcast, to write the novel you've been working on for the past 5 years. Life is short and we are fragile. We are ephemeral. We are temporary. We are so temporary. We are mere blinks in the timeline of the universe. Take your risks today. Take it for the people that you've lost, because I'm sure if you are over 40 or over 45, you've lost people. You've lost people that you've loved, and they can't dream anymore. They can't, well, maybe they can dream. Who knows what happens to us? But they can't do in this plane of reality anymore. So we owe it to them to do for them. Let that sink in. We owe it to them to do for them. So I hate to end this episode on a down note. I'm sure I will have another episode about loss at some point. But for now, we're just going to pick a card for this episode. And our card for this episode is the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is about being in meditation. It's about getting quiet and still with yourself. So I'm going to encourage you to take some time this week to focus on your dreams. Focus on your vision. See it in your mind's eye. And when you are ready, to act upon it. Thank you so much for listening to Your Magical Midlife. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Magical Midlife. You can also check out my offerings on my website, which is www.yourmagicalmidlife.com. I offer individualized coaching for women 45 plus who are seekers, dreamers, and out-of-box thinkers. I also offer luxury retreats that include ritual, rites of passage, and ceremony for women 45 and beyond. I'd be so excited to work with you. Also, if you're feeling kind and you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star review, as it opens this podcast to a broader audience and keeps me in those pesky algorithms. Thank you so much for your partnership with me. I appreciate you. Have a great week.